Good afternoon, everybody. Let's talk about the prophetic word again today. The last couple days, it's actually been difficult to download anything for some reason. So we're going to try to see if this works. This prophetic word is, let us own it. Let us own it. And what I'm talking about actually today is we're going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And your homework today is going to be 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And we're going to focus our attention on verse 9 and 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9 and 10. And this is basically about owning your weakness. And we'll see as we go along what God is actually trying to show us here. So 2 Corinthians chapter 12, beginning in verse 9. And he has said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness. Let me say that again. And he has said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. And Paul goes on to say, most gladly, therefore, I would rather boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. When you own your weakness, you are boasting about it. You're in a position where you are realizing that the power of God is manifested in that weakness. Now, weakness is not sin. Weakness is a place. Two factors when it comes to weakness. First, it's a place that you have to depend entirely on God. It cannot come from your own abilities. It cannot come from anything that you think that you have. You know without a shadow of a doubt you have to trust God with that particular situation in your life. And second of all, when you read the chapter, the weakness was given to you by God. That's actually another amazing revelation in it. First is that you cannot do anything yourself, and second, without God's hand on it. That is your what signifies your weakness, and it was also given to you by God. Those two things manifest God's power in your weakness, so that's why we own it. Let's check it out again. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I am well content with weaknesses, with insults, with distresses, with persecutions, with difficulties, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. You know, with those weaknesses in our lives, like some people having learning weakness or disability, some people have these different things that they deal with physically and mentally and emotionally. That's a weakness. It doesn't come from a sin. It's like the John chapter 9 when the disciples talked to Jesus. Who sinned, his parents or this man who was born blind? And Jesus said, neither, so that God can be glorified in this situation. And it's the same here. The power of God is manifested in that weakness. But you know what comes with those weaknesses when every single one of us is people that start to treat the people that have the weakness in a certain way. Check out what Paul said. He said, most gladly, therefore, I would rather boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I am well content with weaknesses, with insults. See, a weakness comes, how many people have spent their entire life being insulted by other people because of their weakness? And some of you listening to this video being the one insulting. I would quickly stop doing that, because that's something that God is going to deal with every person in their life. And if they are not dealing with or not treating people with weaknesses right in the situation, in the weakness that they're in. Because Paul said, he goes on, therefore I am well content with weaknesses, with insults, with distresses, with persecutions, with difficulties. All those things come with weaknesses. It comes from people that like to insult and to bring distress and persecution and difficulties in that person's life. But I want you to know, those who are experiencing those weaknesses, like everyone does, understand that the power of God wants to be manifested in that. So own that weakness. That weakness is not a sin. People have made fun of you. The different things have happened to you your entire life because of that. And that's not the result of God rejecting you. That's not the result of a sin or disobedience in your life. It is so that God can be glorified in you. People can see that there's no way that you can do what you're doing without the hand of God in your life, and that's the reason why it remains. That's the reason why it was given, and that's the reason why it remains, so that in order for God to be glorified. Remember that today. God bless you, and have a great day.